And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, we're going to be doing a recap of the rest of the games that went down last night. So I already talked about the games that I got wrong, the Mavericks winning and the Warriors winning. So here, of course, I ended up getting these two games right. And so we might as well go ahead and talk about the rest of those games that ended up happening over the weekend. So, well, not over the weekend, yesterday night. Now, first game that we're going to talk about is the Brooklyn Nets losing to the Nuggets. I mean, this should have been a clear-cut win for the Denver Nuggets, but this game was close. In fact, it was so close that it ended up going into an overtime. And, of course, the Nuggets, they ended up prevailing in overtime, winning 144-139. Jokić, of course, had another masterclass of a performance, 29 points, 18 rebounds, 16 assists, another triple-double for this man. It's just, he does it so effortlessly. I understand that he did play in some overtime games. He did not shoot a three-pointer in this matchup, but regardless, he still ended with 29 points and was able to shoot 11 for 13 from the line. Russell Westbrook also finally had a good game in this matchup. He ended with 22 points, 5 of 12 from the field, but 10 for 10 from the line, which is rather shocking for Westbrook standards. He also ended the game with 5 assists, a steal, and a rebound. So, again, about time that Russell Westbrook actually has a good game. And the rest of the players for the Nuggets, they also played really well. And that's sort of what I expected because the Nets, while they might be solid on the offensive side of the ball, they really lack a solid defensive player, aside from Nicholas Claxton. And even then, you need some competent perimeter threats when you're going up against a team like the Denver Nuggets, who love to shoot the three-pointer a lot. And the Nets just didn't have that. They were able to make the game interesting, forcing this into an overtime with their scoring, because they also had considerable amount of scores, but more on that a little bit later. Michael Porter Jr. ended the game with 16 points. He shot 6 for 11 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. So not really the best performance coming in from Porter, but still rather solid. Jamal Murray, 8 for 19 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3, 24 points. As I love to make jokes about Jamal Murray, he usually only shoots well when he plays against the Lakers. And I don't know why. I don't know how, but that's just a thing. And Aaron Gordon, he ended the game with 24 points, 8 for 11 from the field, 7 for 7 from the free throw line. And let's see, those were, aside from Christian Braun, who also ended the game with 12 points, all of those players were the players that ended in double figures for the Denver Nuggets. Now, on the Brooklyn Nets side of things, Dennis Schroeder ended up being the leading scorer for the team. He ended the game with 28 points and 14 assists. Very solid performance coming in from Dennis Schroeder. 10 of 18 from the field, 5 for 11 from 3. And I thought that Cam Thomas was going to be the scorer for this game, like the leading scorer for the Brooklyn Nets, but he was only off by 2 points. He scored 26, 8 for 22 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. A pretty off shooting night for Cam Thomas, but aside from that, 26 points is 26 points. And coming in from the rest of the starting lineup, Cam Johnson ended the game with 20 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He also shot 7 of 14 from the field and 6 of 10 from 3. So pretty solid outing for Cam Johnson in this game as well. Now, let's see, looking at the rest of the starting lineup. Dorian Finney-Smith, he ended the game with 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, 5 for 11 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. So not really that efficient shooting the ball from 3, but everywhere else he was just fine. And the really big bugaboo that I'm actually pretty surprised about with this is how Claxton, he wasn't starting, but Noah Clowney, he played 16 minutes in the starting lineup, and he only ended with 0 points. 0 for 2 from 3. I don't know why Claxton wasn't starting, especially considering how he ended the game with 16 points, 12 rebounds, and also was able to go 8 for 9 from the field. Very, very efficient night coming in from Claxton. and he was also able to finish with 3 blocks along with that. He did end up fouling out in this game. He got 6 personal fouls. And but aside from that, there was also Zaire Williams for the coming off the bench for Brooklyn, 18 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and he also ended up shooting 7 for 8 from the field for a 5 from 3. So it was a really close game. These players played really well. It's just they could not close it out. That was really the big problem with this team and the matchup against the Nuggets. And the Nuggets, they are a team that's notorious for closing out. Not so much this season as they were in previous seasons, but that's sort of what made the Nuggets really deadly. The fact that they're able to close out big games. And while I'm not saying that this was a big game, this was a game that went into overtime, so there is significant pressure to close out in this matchup. And that's really the big takeaways that I got from this game. They shot similar from the field. They both shot around 51%, but the 3-point percentage coming in from the Nuggets was the big difference. I mean, they shot 48% from the 3 compared to the Nets shooting 38% from 3. Despite this, however, the Nets ended up making more 3-pointers than them because they took more 3-pointers, but still it wasn't enough to go up against this team. This team really they won it in overtime, obviously, but it was a really close win because in overtime the Nuggets scored 19 and the Nets, they scored 14. So it was really close all the way up to the very end. And where it really sort of where it really went wrong for the Nets in this matchup, it was in the beginning. Once Jokić made those free throws, then they went on a little bit of a run, which increased the score all the way up to 133 to 127 up until the very end. And then they've just been able to hold on to that lead all the way up until OT and continue scoring. Meanwhile, the Brooklyn Nets went a little bit stagnant and started missing a couple of shots. And the Nuggets, they were just rolling offensively, and they capitalized on that. So that's really the end of that game. Now, the next game on this list, another game that I ended up picking right, but again, it was against the Utah Jazz. The Kings, they ended up destroying the Utah Jazz in this matchup. It was a pretty easy win for them all around. They won with a score of 113 to 96. The Jazz couldn't even crack into 100 points. They did play really well in the fourth quarter. However, that third quarter and along with that first quarter was the big difference maker in this game between the Kings and the Jazz, because the Kings, they ended up outscoring the Jazz 34 to 22 in the first and then 29 to 14 in the third quarter. Now, as JJ Redick said, when the Lakers only scored 14 points in a quarter, scoring only 14 points in a quarter is unacceptable. And it's really difficult to win a game when you're scoring like that and the other team is scoring in the 20s. Now, for the Jazz and their matchup, Lauri Markkanen did not play well in this matchup at all. He only played 17 minutes, however, and then he only got 7 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. And let me just go ahead and look at his shooting percentages. Let me see. He shot 3 for 5 from the field. Not entirely sure. I was unable to watch this game because it wasn't a nationally televised game, so I'm not entirely sure exactly what went down. Jordan Clarkson, he ended the game 8 for 16 from the field, 21 points. John Collins, he ended the game 7 for 16 with 18 points. And let's see, what's his name? Kyle Flipowski, he ended the game with 12 points, 5 of 10 from the field. I believe that in this matchup as well, there was a player for the Utah Jazz who ended up succumbing to an injury in this matchup. Let me just go ahead and, yeah, exactly. So, let me just wait for this ad so that way I can accurately report it. Give me just 1 second. So, it's rumored that Taylor Hendricks is going to be out for the season after a leg injury in this matchup, and this is his second year, and he'll reportedly miss the remainder of the 2024-2025 season after suffering a fractured right fibula. So that could also play into effect as to why they ended up coming up short in this matchup. But again, I don't think it would have mattered because the Kings, they're supposed to be the better team in this matchup. Of course they are supposed to be the better team in this matchup. Sabonis ended the game with another double-double, 28 points, 11 rebounds. DeMar DeRozan, he ended the game with 20 points, 8 assists, along with 4 rebounds. He shot 9 for 14 from the field, and Sabonis, he shot 13 for 18 from the field. De'Aaron Fox, 19 points, 8 for 15 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and he also was able to record 5 rebounds along with 6 assists. The entire starting lineup for the Kings ended in double digits, which is exactly what you need in not just this game, but in every single game as well. And let me just see. Keegan Murray, he ended the game with 14 points. He did not shoot the ball that well, 6 of 14 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3. Malik Monk also did not shoot the ball that well in this matchup, 2 for 11, 7 points. But regardless, you win by a mile, you win by an inch, and here they won by a mile. A win is a win. So really, again, this was rather expected. I did not really expect the Kings to lose in this matchup. The Jazz, they are one of the worst teams in the NBA right now. They're, aside from the Pistons and the Wizards, arguably, I think they're probably going to be dead last in the entire Western Conference when the season is concluded. And I don't really see anything changing for this Jazz team, at least in this year, which really begs the question, why are they keeping Markkanen and why are they wasting his talents? But they're expecting to rebuild, especially in this draft when Cooper Flagg is supposed to be phenomenal and is supposed to be an amazing athlete going into this draft. So that's probably exactly what they're expecting and what they're hoping to get out of this draft. But there's really not much that has to be said. These matchups and these outcomes were sort of expected coming in from both of these teams. And I expected that the other games would end up being right too, but that ended up not being the case. But that's aside the point. So now we're going to go into everyone's favorite section, the 5th section, where I give my predictions for this game. I'll most likely end up picking 2 wrong, so we'll go ahead and see. But I'll be right back after this short break, so be sure to stay tuned.